Critical Role Recap Season 2, Episode 43. So last week ended off with the Mighty Nein having snuck onto Ivanica's ship and into her chambers and discovering some jewels, and more importantly, a journal that she had written in some sort of cipher, but Caleb managed to crack the cipher and find out that she had written down plans for taking over the entire ocean, basically, and making the Plank King kneel to her, and her becoming like the top dog of pirates, essentially. They then decided to take this information to the Plank King on the following morning. Caleb spent the entire night writing up a cipher, a decoding cipher, basically, so that someone else could then take the piece of the document that he had and use it in order to read Ivanica's journal themselves. However, that morning when they woke up, they found themselves speedily and under guard escorted back to Ivanica's ship by Ivanica's crew members, and they began to be interrogated. One of Ivanica's crew members then cast some sort of scrying ability, and her eyes snapped over to Caleb. As this happened, Caleb threw up a giant wall of fire, and that's where we picked up this week's episode. So he throws up his giant wall of fire. It does quite a bit of damage. It blocks his team off from the opposing team, and the combat immediately begins. The Mighty Nein decide to still stick to the plan of getting the book to the Plank King, basically, and so they all just kind of use separate different abilities to try and quickly get out of Dodge, to get off the ship. So with Caleb's wall of fire there, they just immediately kind of start running and using like Dimension Door is used in order to get Bo out of the fight, and Jester. Fjord uses his Thunder Step that he has, and Caleb uses his Expeditious Retreat in order to run and not runs away. Basically, everyone just tries to kind of book it out of there. But during this time, the enemy is getting off attacks and doing a fair bit of damage, and Caleb does end up going down, which drops his firewall, but he did manage to get a fair bit away from the fight in that time. And then the rest of the fight is like them still basically trying to run away, but also the town guards are coming in and trying to snatch them and figure out what's going on. And the sorceress who had cast the scry on Ivanica's side also cast a mass suggestion and got every guard basically on their side of the fight, on Ivanica's side of the fight. And immediately all of the guards just kept trying to grab every member of the Mighty Nein that they could. However, thankfully, they had created so much space that other than Caleb going down to one last shot after he got away, they all really got out pretty safely for the most part. And Bo, with the help of the Dimension Door from Jester, managed to make a very speedy dash towards the Plank King's headquarters and almost immediately had a guard going to fetch the Plank King. But while that guard is going off to grab the Plank King and bring him there, this combat is still going on. Fjord finally does manage to get over to Caleb and put a potion in his mouth to bring him back up, and Caleb instantly wakes up and throws a giant fireball onto Ivanica's ship, which kills like 4 or 5 of her crew members and heavily damages the ship. However, after that happens, the guards manage to grab up most of the Mighty Nein, and everything kind of just settles down for the most part. Like, people are under arrest, and the Plank King has finally come out, and he's going to start holding judgment. And that's when Bo gets to work convincing the Plank King that Bo's part of this secret Cobalt Soul secret agent people and they had an interest in Ivanica and were tracking Ivanica down, and that's why the Mighty Nein is there, basically. And so they have no interest in the Plank King, and they were really there just to stop Ivanica because they knew she's telling them, lying to them, telling them that they knew that Ivanica had these dastardly plans and that they needed to stop it. And so she gives him the book and the cipher that Caleb has, and he hands it off to his smart dude to start trying to decipher it. But he's still, he has no idea. I mean, he just met these people. He's known Ivanica for 10 years. He doesn't really know what's going on. Ivanica comes up and starts presenting her own side of the argument, and she just starts lying, saying that Fjord is the one that sabotaged the ship that he ended up wrecking, and he was using his masculine wiles in order to try and convince her to go help him find and unlock this power of Uk'otoa, and that it was all their idea and it wasn't hers. At this point, Fjord's like, well, obviously she's lying, and if it's okay with you, Mr. Plank King, we have abilities that will force her to tell the truth. The Plank King says, all right, go ahead. So Bo cracks her one in the jaw and prevents her from lying. The ability that she uses makes it so that you cannot knowingly tell a lie. And so then the Plank King asks her questions. Is this true? Is this journal saying that you're trying to take me over? Is it your, like, is this true? And Ivanka simply refuses to answer. She keeps looking away, averts her gaze, and is clearly not answering because it is true. So the Plank King goes ahead and sentences her and executes her himself by lifting her up in his hands and crushing her throat with his bare hand. So Ivanka's dead, and the Mighty Nein, everyone's made it alive out of this combat and is now standing here before the Plank King with, having prevented a coup, but at the same time, they also caused a bunch of damage, killed people, stole from people, broke a bunch of the Plank King's laws, basically. So because of that, he says, basically, you broke a whole bunch of laws, you guys did a bunch of fucked up shit, but you also helped me out with Ivanka, so your punishment is banishment. You can take her busted up ship and get out of here now, immediately. And he's like, I hope you have enough supplies to live. If you don't, I don't care. You're gone. Get out of here. So they say, all right, thank you. Sounds like a good deal. And they go ahead and hop on the ship that only has one working sail and limp their way away from Darktow, happily having accomplished their task, taking out Ivanka, getting their own ship, which granted they do need to repair. They also brought all of the crew members that they had brought with them. They managed to get back on the ship with them as well. And they started heading on their way towards the shipwreck that Fjord had been on, that they think they might be able to find another one of these stones, another one of these cloven gems on. The rest of the episode is then spent headed towards this shipwreck and them scouring, going back and forth using locate objects, Fjord navigating them, and basically them just constantly searching, trying to kind of sonar ping the bottom of the ocean to see if they can find it. They do finally manage to find it after a few days of searching, and then Caleb turns Frumpkin into a squid and has Squid Frumpkin go down and scout out, and Squid Frumpkin does indeed find a shipwreck there at the bottom of the ocean and comes back up and tells them of this, with Caleb having seen through the eyes of the squid the entire time. And so Fjord uses water breathing on the entire party. They all jump down and make their way towards the ship. And once they get eyes on the shipwreck down there at the bottom of the ocean, that's where we end this week's episode. Besides those events, there were also some nice moments of character development, some more interesting things coming up, basically, and just some more development of their personalities and their relationships. So absolutely, this episode was super fun. I would highly recommend watching it. The whole first half is just like crazy combat with absurd things going on and narrow escapes. Fjord summons a giant demon from another plane to help them out. So yeah, it was just a really fun episode. And next week we'll pick up with them at the bottom of the ocean searching a shipwreck. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.